Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Welcome to the messengers in our home. Dear Kardec Radio listeners, welcome to the messengers in our home. Tonight with chapter 15, The Journey. Hello, Mackenzie.
Hi, Francisca. And hello, dear friends. Welcome back to another chapter of the messengers in our home.
So, as usual, we would like to invite you for our opening prayer. Dear Mother, Father, God, Creator of the universe and of our yet small hearts, we are so grateful for the gift of life that you have given us, this new opportunity here on earth to learn and to grow and to be on our journey to self-improvement and towards you. We would like to welcome the good spirits that are always helping us when we gather together for the spiritual studies, and who are also always with us during our daily challenges. So we are very grateful for their love, their support, and their patience with us. And with your permission, we would like to start our meeting. So be it. Let us now listen to the reading of chapter 15.
Chapter 15, The Journey. We had volatiled a great distance when a less beautiful region began to emerge. The sky was covered in thick clouds, and something that I couldn't understand began impeding us. Aniceto, however, didn't seem to be affected, and Vicente and I had to make a great effort to keep up with him. He perceived our problem immediately. It might be better if we just use our legs at this point. The atmosphere is becoming very heavy, and we aren't very far from Campo da Paz. We won't have to actually go there, though. We can rest at the aid station. We can get everything we need there. What is this place? I asked, amazed at the profound change in our surroundings. We are entering a sphere of strong vibrations from the human mind. We are still a long way from the Earth's surface, but we can already sense the mental influence of incarnate humanity. Great struggles are taking place in this sphere, and thousands of selfless brothers and sisters are devoted to the mission of teaching and consoling those who are suffering. Nowhere is divine help lacking. By then, we had reached the top of a high mountain enveloped in a vaporous fog. On the ground were various trails laid out in a well-formed labyrinth. Noticing our perplexity, Aniceto said optimistically, "Let's keep moving." Just then, oh God of goodness, something unexpected caused my heart to leap. In contrast to the darkness, rays of light were streaming from our bodies. My soul was overcome with extraordinary emotion. Vicente and I went to our knees at the same time, bathed in tears, sending our profound thanks to the Eternal One in expressions of fervent joy. We were intoxicated with happiness. This was the first time that I had been arrayed in light, light that radiated from all the cells of my spirit body. Aniceto, who had remained standing, watching us with a look of joy, spoke excitedly. "Very good, my friends. Let us thank God for His gifts of love, wisdom, and mercy. Let us show the Father our gratitude. Those who do not know how to thank do not know how to receive, much less how to ask. Vicente and I remained in prayer for a long time, filled with joy and tears. Then we resumed our journey as if we were dressed in sublime luminosity. Surprises followed one after the other. Such pathways were far different from what I had known until then. We were immersed in a strange climate where cold and the absence of solar light were predominant. The topography was a mixture of mysterious landscapes that reminded me of a science fiction movie. High mountain peaks resembled dark, stalwart spires defying the vastness. We went down and down, flanking dark precipices in a land of menacing exoticism. Strange vegetation arose from the ground at various intervals between great abysses. Horrifying, frightful birds appeared from time to time, filling the silence with anguished cries. A harsh wind blew all around. Deeply terrified, I swallowed my feelings and asked Aniceto, "What is all of this? I didn't know there were such regions between the Earth's surface and our spirit city. I feel as if there is a whole new world before us, one completely unknown to me. In deference to you, dear Aniceto, I'm not asking this out of idle curiosity, but I find these lands truly astounding." Aniceto, obliging as always, smiled and replied, "This entire world is an extension of our Earth. Human eyes can see only a few aspects of the valley as they prepare themselves for real spirit sight. Likewise, we ourselves may be able to see what humans cannot, but we still cannot see the entire picture. This is a different domain, Andre. Human perception can grasp only a specific number of vibrations. Comparing human abilities with the grandeur of the infinite universe, the physical senses are extremely limited. Humans can only receive a small amount of information about the world in which they live. It is true that they have fathomed profound problems with their sciences. Astronomy has shown that the Sun is approximately 1,300,000 times larger than the Earth, and that the star Capella is 5,800 times larger than the Sun. It has shown that Arcturus is equivalent to thousands of suns like the one shining on us. It has discovered that Canopus is the equivalent of 8,760 suns like ours, all put together. It has measured the distance between our planet and the Moon. It has followed certain phenomena on Mars, Saturn, Venus, and Jupiter. It has explored the millions of suns amassed in the Milky Way. It knows about variable stars and spiral and diffuse nebulae. But human observation doesn't stop with the unlimited grandeur of the macrocosm. Science has also entered the realms of the atom. It has analyzed the materialization of energy and the movements of electrons. It has studied the bombardment of atoms and has investigated the various corpuscles. But with the aid of high-powered lenses and generators of thousands of volts, all this work is still a service that has only had to do with the outward aspects of life. However, Andre, there are other subtle worlds amidst the coarse ones, marvelous spheres that interpenetrate one another. The human eye suffers from many limitations, and all the physical lenses put together wouldn't be able to probe the field of the soul, which demands the development of the spirit faculties in order to be perceived. Electricity and magnetism are two powerful currents that have begun to reveal to our incarnate brothers and sisters something of the infinite potential of the invisible, but it is still too soon for us to claim complete success. Only to the individual with developed spirit senses is it possible for some of the details of our landscape to be revealed. The majority of people bound to the earth's surface cannot understand these truths until they have lost their dense physical ties. It is a law that we must not see anything except what we can observe to our advantage. Aniceto finished. Moved by what he had taught us, I kept religious silence. Suddenly, among the shadows, I could make out some black figures that seemed to flee hurriedly, mingling together in the darkness of some nearby caves. Our guide cautiously gave us a few words of advice. Let's try to suspend the luminous effects of our spirit bodies. We only need to concentrate our thought in order to do so. We are going through an extensive region inhabited by a lot of wretched spirits, and a display of our abilities would be an unfair humiliation to those who are suffering. I took his advice and noticed an immediate effect. The strands of light that had been radiating from my body went out as if by magic. The trip became less pleasant. We descended miraculously down long crags. The darkness became denser, the gale more mournful and penetrating. After some time of walking along in silence, we caught sight of a large illuminated castle in the distance. Aniceto made a meaningful gesture with his forefinger and explained, "That is one of Campo da Paz's aid stations." Translator's note: Campo da Paz is literally field of peace. And so tonight we're going to follow Andre, Vicente, and Aniceto in the beginning of their journey. Well, actually, last week the journey or their journey just started. So we ended last chapter, which was chapter 14, with this sentence: meditating on this sublime lesson while in full volitation, I watched as the spires of Nosolar faded into the background. So he ends by saying that they're starting to walk. Well, he doesn't say walk, he says volitation, right? In full volitation. So what does that mean? Once again, and it's always a reminder for all of us, right? This is the second book of the series. So we had the book Nosolar, which we covered previously on this show. All chapters, we had interviews on the book and so on, and we talked and discussed a little bit about some of these words. So volitation actually means that the person is fluttering, meaning it is almost as if the person is walking on air, right? So it doesn't make a big effort, a big physical effort. It's more of a mind trick. And since they are spirits and they already know how to control that, they don't need to walk. So they are volating towards their goal. So that's how last chapter ended. And this chapter, he starts by saying that again, or at least explaining what they have done so far. So he starts by saying that we had volitated a great distance when the less beautiful region began to emerge. So they are walking towards their goal, or once again, now walking, volitating towards their goal. And Andre tells us that now they're starting to see a very different atmosphere, a very different region, and he says it's a less beautiful region. So, and then he describes it. It's kind of dark, thick clouds, and there was something in the air, or apparently in the air. There was impeding them to volitate faster, or to go faster to where they're going to. But what he notices is that Aniceto was not being affected as much as he and Vicente were being affected. And Aniceto notices this, and he says, well, since you're having problems with the volitation from this point on, it might be better if we just use our legs. So from then on, they just touch the ground and then start walking towards the station that they're going to. And Aniceto explains that the atmosphere is becoming very heavy, and since they aren't very far from Campo da Paz, which is, in English, we could translate literally as Field of Peace, but it's the name of a place, right? So it's Campo da Paz. But they're a little far from that, but they don't need to go and walk up to Campo da Paz completely. So they can stop at one of their aid stations, and then from then on they can keep going to their final or intermediary destination, and to recover, to sleep. And remember, maybe it can sound a little strange to some of us or to some of you guys that, okay, aren't they discarnated? Aren't they spirits? Shouldn't they be able to walk through everything and then just go through everything? And that's where Andre will start talking to Aniceto, and Aniceto will start explaining to him, and naturally to all of us, what's going on. Please, we need to always remember that, okay, we are discarnated, right? Or in this case here, Andre, Vicente, and Aniceto are discarnated. However, we have to remember that once we discarnate, we don't lose the matter, the complete range of what matter is, right? So we still have our spiritual body, which is, we can call a spiritual matter. Naturally, it's not a spirit, but it's the kind of matter that's completely, it's less dense, right, than the matter that we have here while incarnated. However, it is still matter, so it still interacts, not directly to our densest matter, but it interacts with the other dense matters or less dense matters of the spiritual world. So that's the reason why, or one of the reasons why they feel that there's something different. So we can maybe imagine something of similar to, let's say, if we are walking regularly on the street, then it's one kind of walk that we take, right? But let's just imagine that there's a very thin layer of water on the sidewalk, right? It's gonna, well, maybe in the beginning it's awkward, but then it's gonna start to become hotter, and then it will be very different to walk on that thin layer of water. Why? Because your shoes will be wet. It will be a little heavier. It makes the way we travel differently. So let's go a step further. Let's imagine that we can breathe underwater, right? How can I walk underwater, right? It's much, much more difficult. So what's happening here in this specific case is that, remember, they were in No Solar, right? Where all the thoughts, everybody that worked there, they have all their good thoughts, and they don't have any major problems with what's going on with in their lives. Always praying, always having good thoughts, right? So their atmosphere, that their mental and psychological atmosphere of the place has one specific vibration, right? A very light vibration. It is as if we are walking in the metaphor that we just made. It is as if we are walking with no strings attached to our bodies, walking on the sidewalk. The air is clean and everything is fine. Then they start walking towards Earth. Here, Andre, Vicente, and Aniceto. And then they start to find it harder to walk, harder to volitate. So what is happening? It is as if we start putting water on the sidewalk, and then we have to go through there. So to the ones who already had, for example, to walk when there was snow, right, on the floor, and then we have to keep walking, we know how hard it is. Or let's say we are training, and then we are training on the sidewalk, but all of a sudden I'm training on beach sand. So it's a completely different kind of training. It will drain our energies much faster. It will be harder after some times because our feet goes under the ground, sometimes under the sand, and then it makes it tougher and tougher for us. So what Aniceto explains to us here is that they are entering a sphere or this area of strong vibrations from the human mind, right? And he says that we are still a long way from the Earth's surface, but we can already sense the mental influence of incarnate humanity. So he doesn't say how far that is, but let's remember, No Solar is on the atmosphere, right? Physically, as per Andre's description, is physically on top of the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, this specific city, right? No Solar, where they are. So they are as if they are walking down on Earth, right? Down to Earth, to physical Earth, as we are right now. And once they keep going down and down and down, approaching us here on Earth, incarnated, it is as if they start feeling the mental vibrations of the incarnates of us that are incarnate here. So it is a place where there may be a lot of spirits who are discarnated also on that specific place, on that specific area of space. And because of those mental vibrations, it makes it tougher for spirits to go through there without noticing anything. So, but he explains that, well, there are spirits who are in these regions also trying to help those who are in this situation, because nowhere is divine help lacking. So God, there's always messengers, there are always people, spirits who are willing and able to help anyone who is in need of help. Right? We just need to, most of the times, be ready and be prepared to be helped if we are actually looking for some kind of help. But then they keep going, right? They keep walking, and Aniceto says optimistically, right? Let's keep moving, and they keep moving while Andre is still describing the atmospheres, describing the place where they're going through. So he says that they reach the top of a high mountain. There's a vaporous fog. There's a lot of different ways. He says that it's laid out in a well-formed labyrinth. But Aniceto says, well, let's move. We need to get to our destination. Right? And then, all of a sudden, apparently out of nowhere, right? And Andre even says, right, just then, O God of goodness, something unexpected caused my heart to leap. And we know that's not only him, to him and Vicente, right? He starts to see these rays of light streaming from their bodies, and they start becoming luminous, right? His soul was overcome with extraordinary emotion. Vicente and I, and he keeps going, went to our knees at the same time, bathed in tears, sending our profound thanks to the Eternal One in expressions of fervent joy. We were intoxicated with happiness. This was the first time that I had been arrayed in light that radiated from all the cells of my spirit body. Aniceto, who had remained standing watching us with a look of joy, spoke excitedly. And then Aniceto will say something for us in a bit. But it is interesting that it happened to both of them, to Vicente and to Andre, at almost the same time. And we stopped to think a little bit about this, and we can maybe take a lesson, hopefully, right? I said maybe, but hopefully, and we are willing to take a lesson from this. Once we decide that we will go through with something that's going to be good for me, that's going to be good for the other ones who I'm going to be able to help, there's always help that I cannot see where it is coming from. And in this specific case, their effort of going through that area, going through that quote unquote here, bad situation or those bad places, but their willingness to go through without complaining, without looking back, right? Just amazed because they never saw those areas, but they didn't decide to, I'm hesitant to go through this. No, I am here to help. I am here with friends. I am here with somebody that's going to be able to help me if I need some help. So I am certain, I am positive that I am going to do this, that we need to go through this, that I am here to learn. I am here to do something good. Then that certainty, it is almost as if we are opening a door for this light who is already inside of us. And this is the most beautiful thing, right? God, and then we can go back to the beginning of the Old Testament, right? Well, we were made in God's image, right? So God is love, God is light. So if we don't have or we don't see the light that is within ourselves, it is not because we don't have it, it's because we covered that light with something that doesn't allow that light to go through. In this specific moment, because of their determination of doing the right thing, of doing the good thing, for those who they're about to go to help, their dedication to their task, all of a sudden it is as if a very small window, a very small door, right, just cracked open a little bit, and then all of a sudden all this light comes from them. And then it is as if they start feeling that love from within, which is God's love for all of us. And that sometimes we're looking for this love on the exterior world, right? We're looking this love that another person is feeling for me, but that's not where we will find the true love. We will find true love within ourselves, right? And that's basically what I see from here. And naturally, when they notice this, they don't know how to feel. They don't know what to do with that. And then they just thank the Eternal One, right, with expressions of fervent joy. And Aniceto also looks at them and says, "Oh, very good, my friends. Let us thank God for His gifts of love, wisdom, and mercy. And let's show the Father our gratitude. Because if I don't know how to receive, right, if I don't know how to thank, to show that I know how to receive, I'm not going to be able to ask for something that can be useful for me. So let's thank God for everything and anything that happens to us, be it apparently bad or be it apparently good, because that's how we learn, and we will learn more and more how to ask, when to ask, what to ask God at the right time, in the right opportunity, right? So they are feeling this immense joy that are being shown to the world, to the outside world, through this light that's coming from every single part of their spiritual bodies, their perispirits, as we were talking in the beginning. And then he says that, André says that Vicente and himself remained in prayer for a long time, and they were very joyful, and they were tearing up, right? Their eyes were full of tears all the time. Then they kept going. They kept walking, and then he says a beautiful expression, as if we were dressed in sublime luminosity. And it is funny because it's an expression, right? When we see, for example, a woman that's pregnant, and then we look at their eyes and we say, oh, see how much light there is we can see in her eyes, right? So it is that love that takes us from the inside. And it is as if our full body is full of that light when we are happy and when we understand what we are doing and how powerful that feeling of love is, not only for ourselves, but most importantly for everyone that's in the world. That's why the descriptions of Jesus, right, when Jesus encounters somebody, or even us these days, when we encounter somebody that we look at that person, or we have that person in high esteem, and then when we finally meet that person, sometimes we cannot even talk, we cannot even say anything, or the opposite. If I'm about not to say something, then I start talking and talking and talking. It is because that light that comes from that person, right, the vibration that comes from that person takes me out to a different place, and I cannot control those emotions. And hopefully I cannot control those emotions, cannot control those good emotions, and don't overjoy or be oversaddened by that. But that moment when we clearly feel that love coming from the inside, as if all our cells are emitting a kind of light, which is what André is saying here. But surprises didn't stop there, and that's what André says. Surprises followed one after the other, right? And he starts describing, right, what's going on when he is walking down. Right, he talks about strange vegetations, the type of winds that they're feeling, frightful birds, and it's all created by these bad mental vibrations that we emit. So this is a contrast, right, with what we were just talking. So while they are feeling very how can I say this? They are feeling very happy because they can feel and sense that love within. And then this joy, this love is expressed in rays of light. This region, since it is created by the same power that we have inside, but turned upside down, right? Instead of letting love out, I am letting out what? Hatred. I am letting out feelings of revenge, unforgiveness, and whatever bad emotions that I can summon right now. All these thoughts, all these feelings, and all these emotions are creating this very dark, right, very cold place, right, this very uneven topography, right, where he says, for example, the topography was a mixture of mysterious landscapes that reminded me of a science fiction movie, all those dystopian science fiction movies, right, where we see all those vastness of places with a lot of things destroyed, and, you know, the coldness of the time. So he keeps describing this, and so that we can understand that this is not their creation. This is our creation. It could have been that they helped create that landscape, that region. Right now, they are not in that mental level anymore. The question for us here is, are we at that level? Are we helping create these kinds of landscapes, these mental landscapes on top of where we are living right now? Are we part of the ones who are helping clean the landscape, the mental landscape, the mental landscape, or are we part of the ones who are contributing to creating these dark, cold, unhappy places, mentally unhappy places, right? So deeply terrified he is, right, Andre and probably Vicente. He asks Aniceto, right, what is all of this? I didn't know, and I'm quoting here, right, I didn't know there were such regions between the Earth's surface and our spirit city. I feel as if there is a whole new world before us, one completely unknown to me. In deference to you, dear Aniceto, I am not asking this out of idle curiosity, but I find these lands truly astounding. Naturally, it is the first time that he is, well, it's not the very first time, right? Remember, No Solar, he went to the Umbro and to these kinds of places, but at least to what I can see here, Andres, for the first time going through these places, he's going differently than he went before, right? And we had the description of those different ways that we can go through, right, to go to Earth through these places, or through, let's say, highways, or through some very small ways and routes that we can take long curves and go through peaks and mountains. And then there's the highway that just goes straight and you don't see anything that's on the sides of the highways. So I can imagine that when Andre went from No Solar to Rio de Janeiro, in No Solar, he used the highways. And now, as he described in last chapter, chapter 14, they are not going through those highways. They have to go through a different path, because that's where they are going to learn, that's where they're going to meet new people, so that they can prepare to go to Earth and then help some people there. So, and then he says, well, this is not, I'm curious about this, but this is not just idle curiosity. I really want to understand why I didn't see this before, and why there are so much of this here. I thought that everything could be very clear, everything was clean, and there would be no problems in this. And then that's when Aniceto once again comes to his rescue and to our rescue to really explain what we've been already talking about, but he will give us a few more hints on to understand a little even better what we were just saying here. So Aniceto says, and I quote here, "This entire world is an extension of our Earth. Human eyes can see only a few aspects of the valley," he puts it into single quotes here, in between single quotes here, "as they prepare themselves for real spirit sight. Likewise, we ourselves may be able to see what humans cannot, but we still cannot see the entire picture," which is very interesting, right? It is as if Aniceto says, okay, we can see something. When we grow up, we will be able to see more. But even when we have and reach a certain level, there will be more stuff for us to see that we cannot see, even when we are discarnated. So we are being prepared from time to time. As we evolve, as we understand, we are going to be able, and we will be able to see more and more. Just like our human eyes. We can only see few things, right? I am here right now. I am speaking. The microphone right in front of me is recording my voice, but I cannot see my voice. I can only hear my voice. So, but is there something that's coming from my mouth to touch the microphone? Of course it is, other than, of course, the fluids that sometimes, pop out of our mouths when we are speaking. But the waves, right? The sound waves, they probably can be seen if we put a certain kind of detector to see those lengths, right? Those wavelengths, those waves traveling. We don't see the light going through the atmosphere, right? Unless there's a fog, then we can see the fog and we can see the fog being lightened up, but we see the focus point of the light, and then we see the object. But we don't see light going through the air, right? But we know that light travels from one place to the other. Right? as we are here right now, you are there, and there's, let's imagine, if you were not listening to this, right? You have a radio right in front of you, the radio is turned off. Does it mean that there are no radio stations floating around? Of course there are. We don't see them, we don't hear them, we don't feel them, but if we turn the radio, turn the dial, put on the number that has a radio station, sound will come out of the radio. Why? Right? So we don't see it, but not seeing it, it doesn't mean that it is not there. Right? And this is human eyes, the human senses. It doesn't matter, right? We breathe, we don't see the air, but we know it is there because we feel, right? Through our noses, going into our lungs, and so on and so forth. There are so many examples of this. So what Aniceto is telling us here is that, okay, let's just think a little bit further than that. Just going further, right? And he starts by saying that it's an unlimited universe, right? We can only grasp only a specific number of vibrations, right? We are very small if we compare ourselves physically to the universe, right? But right now, we can see millions and billions of stars, maybe. We know the age of the universe, right? As the current theories tell us about the Big Bang, 15 billion years ago. We know the age of the Earth, right? About 4.5 billion years. We know the time of the sun, the size of the sun. We know sizes of different stars. But, and then he says, in the middle of this big paragraph, that we're not going to talk about the specific details. It's not important, because all he wants is to make a point for us. And he says right in the middle, but human observation doesn't stop with the unlimited grandeur of the macrocosm. So we know all this from the macrocosm. We know sizes of all planets of our of our solar system. Then we know the size of our Milky Way. We know how billions of stars there are. Black holes and nebulae and pulsars and all these things that science studies, right? But we don't stop there on the macrocosm. We go down into the microcosm. That's when he says science has also entered the realms of the atom. And then we go deep down, right? We have those huge hadron collisions, right? These places where they fire atoms one against each other. When they hit each other, they just cause this big explosion, so they can separate and create all these even smaller particles, right? And how deep down can we go? Then we have neutrinos who have no mass, and so on and so forth. So we are going up on the big to know and to recognize big stuff. We're going down into the atom to know small stuff. However, the human eye, he says, and I quote here, the human eye suffers from many limitations, and all the physical lenses put together wouldn't be able to probe the field of the soul, which demands the development of the spirit faculties in order to be perceived. So we will see the big stuff. We will see the very small stuff. But with our physical eyes, it doesn't matter how many lenses we put. If we don't develop the spirit faculties of seeing the spirit side of life, we won't be able to perceive it. And when we die, then we start seeing the spirit side. And that's where they are right now, right? And he finishes this paragraph with the following, and I'm going to read the rest of the paragraph, right? When he starts to say, and I quote again, only to the individual with developed spirit senses is it possible for some of the details of our landscape to be revealed. So he is telling here, and I'm going to stop the quote right here, and I'm going to quote the rest after. He says, even here, as we are right now. There are some spirits who are going to be able to see some stuff, and some spirits who will not be able to see the same stuff. Why? Because they have different perceptions. As if, let's imagine that I have eyes and I have glasses. I wear glasses, right? And I'm talking about myself here, indeed. So I wear glasses. Maybe you who are listening to me now, you don't wear glasses, or you wear glasses only to read. I wear glasses to see things that are far from me. So if I take out my glasses and I'm walking, I will be able to see stuff, but I'm not going to be able to see the same way as you are going to see, because I have a problem in my eyes. So I will be able to see shapes. I am able to see light. I will be able to define some of these shapes, but I'm not going to be able to describe them as perfectly as a person who has a perfect vision without glasses. So what he's saying here is that, and I'm using this metaphor of physical eyes, but what he is saying here is that we have different kinds of perception, spiritual perception. It is as if the more evolved I am, more able I am to see into the spirit world, right? And perceive different things. It is as if we have a better or a well-trained eye. So a doctor, for example, will look at a person, see some signs, and a doctor will be able to tell that, oh, that person has a small problem in the column, or their back has a problem because of the way he walks. And I'm going to see and look at that person and say, oh, well, I would never have seen that. Why? Because I don't have a trained eye for that. Here is more or less the same thing. And Aniceto goes on and he finishes this part, and I quote again: "The majority of people bound to the earth's surface cannot understand these truths until they have lost their dense physical ties. It is a law that we must not see anything except what we can observe to our advantage." So it is as if we have this law of protection, right? It is as if God puts this protection in the law so that I am not going to, at least not at all times, not be able to see stuff that will bring me down automatically. So I will be able to see when I am prepared and ready to see, right? I can still be shocked, but it will not take me down, right? I will already have the capability or the possibilities of seeing, understanding, and going towards that, and walking to learn, and studying to learn, and to how to deal with that. If I am not ready to have that preparation, or to be there and to be able to see and use that to my advantage, I will not have the capacity of seeing, of being able to experience that sight. And then Aniceto finishes right there. Andres says that they were moved by what he had taught him and Vicente. He kept religious silence, meaning he shuts up, and then he keeps walking. Suddenly, he says, among the shadows, he could make out some black figures that seemed to flee hurriedly, mingling together in the darkness of some nearby caves. And then Aniceto tells them, giving them a few words of advice. And this is, to me at least, one of the most important teachings of this chapter. Although he's going to talk about something physical here, we can, and I can, look at this and see a very, very important spiritual teaching for all of us here. So I'm going to read, and I'm going to read the whole paragraph of what Aniceto is telling them to do. He says, let's try to suspend the luminous effects of our spirit bodies. We only need to concentrate our thought in order to do so. We are going through an extensive region inhabited by a lot of wretched spirits, and a display of our abilities would be an unfair humiliation to those who are suffering. So first the physical part, right? He says, okay, now you see that you're emitting light. Let's try to suspend this. Let's concentrate and say, I'm not going to be luminous as before, and we will solve this. And Andres says that he took his advice and he noticed an immediate effect. Those strands of light were radiating from his body, went out as if by magic. And he even goes further to say that the trip became less pleasant, right? The darkness became denser, the gale, the winds more mournful and penetrating. So it is their light was protecting them from those exterior vibrations. It was as if this light was a shield, right? They were protected by their own good vibrations from the bad vibrations of the exterior. However, let's go back again to what Aniceto is saying, right? He says that they are going through this region where there are a lot of suffering spirits, right? Spirits that are in very bad shape. And he says that a display of their abilities, of their light, would be an unfair humiliation to those who are suffering. So this is very saying to us, right? If I am in a better situation than the other, why would I show off that I am in a better situation to cause on the other person an unfair humiliation? So it is a very interesting teaching for all of us, a teaching on humility, to really put ourselves on the other person's shoes, look at us and say, okay, how would I feel? What is the kind of compassion that I am showing towards the other person if I am showing off all this light, right? Even if I'm not thinking about it, right? But think about the other person, how the perception of the other person is of ourselves. So we need to go up to their point or down to where they are. Just like education teaches us these days, for example, and I learned this a few years ago. I have 2 daughters. I guess you heard me saying this a few times. If not, yeah, I have 2 daughters. One is already 16, the other at this time, right? The other is 10. So when they were young or younger, not young, right? They're very young. When they were younger, one thing that I learned from watching, shows on education, reading stuff about education or child education, one of the things that really caught my attention, for example, is that when you need to talk, when you need to talk to your children, one of your sons or one of your daughters, go down to their level. Don't talk from your height to their height, looking down on them. Lower yourself down. That's what I read, and I confirmed this with a lot of different people, and talk to them on their level, on the level of their eyesight, so that we can become and go in contact with the other spirit. Not as if I'm coming from the up, the higher realms of my superiority to their lower realms of inferiority. No, we need to become like the other. And that's what Aniceto is inviting us here to do. if I am going to go out, let's say to a place where people don't have enough food, why am I going to wear those fancy clothes and, put a fancy glass or fancy, necklace and all those beautiful clothes and expensive shoes, a hat? And please understand, we're not saying that we cannot use it. It's always a decision on us. But if we want to really help and really feel the other person, touch the other person, we need to try to become as sympathetic to the other person as possible so that we can connect as human beings. Not as if I'm a better person, not as if I'm the one who is helping. No, we are all helping each other. It only happens that at that specific time, I am the one who have the possibility of helping. But how many times have we, and I talk about this on my own experience, right? How many times have I gone to visit people in Brazil that didn't have enough food, or were very young, or very old and sick at an asylum, for example, or a healthcare home, and I went there thinking that I was there to help, and then with the conversation, with the hug, with the touching of the hand, those memories are in my mind as some of the greatest moments that I ever lived, because I learned from those people maybe more than what I was able to help them, because we are trying to make a connection to those who are suffering. And sometimes I am the one who is suffering. And how would I feel if somebody would come to me saying that, oh, I am the better, I am the best, I am, I know more, and all this and all that. We all feel uncomfortable with that. We all know that it's already uncomfortable if somebody is in need of help and we are going there to help the other person. It's already an uncomfortable situation. Why to make it even more uncomfortable, right? Why to make the situation even more humiliating than what the situation sometimes already is? So what Aniceto is inviting us here to think about is not about the light, in this case, right, for ourselves, not for Andre, but it's not about the light, right, because we don't emit light unless we are from a different planet, right? And I mentioned a few programs ago, I don't even remember if it was in the last program, about the movie Avatar, right, where all those flowers, all those vegetation were fluorescent, right? So maybe we one day we will live in a way that we are fluorescent. Hopefully, I don't know, hopefully not. But, I mean, I don't emit light, right? But if I'm wearing something that can cause discomfort in the person that I'm visiting, why not wear something more simple? Or the other way around, right? If I'm going to a place where I need to be better dressed, why not go there better dressed? So I don't cause discomfort in the ones who are expecting me. So it's always a matter of adjusting to the situation. And that's what Aniceto is inviting us to think about here, is even inviting us to pay attention on the way we are behaving when we are going to these situations. In this situation here, to help other people, right? Help other spirits in this case here. The trip, Andres says, right, became less pleasant because of the protection, and we already mentioned this. And they kept walking without that luminous substance or that light coming from them. And then, Andres says, we caught sight of a large illuminated castle in the distance. Aniceto made a meaningful gesture with his forefinger and explained, and that's where they finally get to the middle point of their journey. And Aniceto says, that is one of Campo da Paz. aid stations. So here we finish this very first part of the journey, where they arrive, right, at this aid station where they're about to meet new people, learn a few things before they go on their journey to Earth. And I sincerely hope that we are together, walking together, journeying together with Andre, Vicente, and Aniceto on their journey of discovery, and on our own journeys to discover more, not only about the spiritual realm, not only about the divine laws, but more importantly, the discovery of ourselves, of the role that we play in our own lives, in what the divinity, the Great One, God, expects from us, so that we can help improve this world we live in, sending more rays of light, rays of love, rays of peace to this world that we live in. I hope that we can meet again next week here in the Messengers in our home. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.